The Thermal Club $1 million challenge, that was the worst thing I have ever watched. I watched the first heat, saw the wreck on lap 1, said, all right, I'll stick here for these 10 laps. I wish I didn't. I didn't watch the rest of it because it was not entertaining at all whatsoever. It was a $1 million purse combined, not to the winner like they advertised.
Well, yeah, they couldn't.
They couldn't get the money.
Oh my god.
They couldn't come up with the money.
So teams took a massive loss on this event, especially the ones that wrecked their race cars. Looking at you, Romain. Or Roman or whatever. Grosjean. You know, NBC was pretty much, it was just a commercial for the Thermal Club that 99% of people watching couldn't afford, and the other 1% are already there. The ticket refund thing, I forget if we talked about that on here, but $2,000 tickets to $500, they had to refund everyone. Teams were not happy at all with their service. We got reports of teams being carried away by armed guards. First,
I bet it was Chip on the scooter.
First, let's just not go back. Okay? It's fine. If you want to test there, do your testing there. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Second off, let's not have a month and a half gap between our first and second race of the year. Let's just not do that. 2 weeks. 2 weeks should be your maximum gap in your schedule.
I agree with everything you're saying, and these are all things that need to be addressed. But we're like totally skipping over how devoid of soul, devoid of excitement, devoid of atmosphere that entire event was. It was just a waste in every manner of description. It was like just soul-sucking, like boring, no one cared, doesn't look like anyone wanted to be there, and it was a sham. No one cared. They tried to brand this as an all-star race, and no one cared. What exactly was the point? Were we actually trying something here? Was this a thing that we were actually trying? Because I was ready to give IndyCar props for actually trying, but I'm going to be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think they didn't try. Because it doesn't feel like it. It was dead. It was like lifeless. The entire event, TV broadcast, looks like at the track, everything, just dead.
So, just to draw a quick comparison too. So like, the NASCAR All-Star Race, it's in Charlotte, right? Or it's in North Wilkesboro, which is right in the heart of NASCAR. It's where everybody is, right? That's why Texas didn't work as the All-Star Race. Thermal Club is in Thermal, California, an unincorporated community within the Coachella Valley. It's not even an actual place on the map. And you were like, people don't even know what the hell the Thermal Club is. And you're going to host your All-Star race there? Like, what are we doing? It's just insanity. It's like for years I've always thought that it's like IndyCar's race control always finds ways to do the wrong thing. And now it's like,
Roger Penske.
Yeah. And now they're like, what if we did the same, but like business-wise? What if we just made every wrong, bad choice that we could do? So, like, I don't like the idea of just being completely down and out on a race before it even happened. Like, I wanted to be open-minded about this, but it was just a complete waste of time and money for everybody involved. It's just pointless. I don't get it.
Yeah, I feel like it was a way that they were trying to rationalize having some more testing out there. It didn't rationalize that testing at all, because they had sessions, I think, starting Thursday or Friday last week for this event, and yeah, I don't know. It just IndyCar has such an image crisis right now. You know, the rumblings that one of your manufacturers is just going to leave because you haven't been able to implement your hybrid powertrain that they are ready for. You You have half the teams, they just don't even know why they're competing here. You have drivers openly criticizing your all-star race for the sham that it was. You have drivers that the only way they get any recognition is through their own work, and honestly, they need a little bit of help. You're a series that could really, really benefit from going to South America or Mexico, and you won't do it. Although I think there are rumblings about them going back to Brazil, maybe.
That would be awesome. The old Sao Paulo race used to be so good.
Mm-hmm. And that one street race was always good too.
Yeah.
So
that was, but
it might be the same one. I don't know.
you had such a good opportunity here to gain momentum
I think it was, yeah.
from disillusioned F1 fans in America, and you've just scuttled all that opportunity at this point. You know, look at the disaster that the Nashville GP is this year. Because yeah, it's cool that they're going back to the super speedway and they're racing on an oval because they don't do enough of that. But teams are already upset that they paid all this money to be in downtown Nashville, and now they're out in the boonies.
Sponsors are pissed. I mean, what did they expect? A lot of fans are really happy about it, and I get it. It's cool to be back in Nashville Super Speedway, but that's not the point of going to Nashville. That's ruining the point. There's sponsors that care about being seen by that many eyes. I had a pretty bad time at the Nashville GP when I went. I mean, it was fine. It was good, but like, I wouldn't do it again. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I will say is it was packed out and people cared, and it was an event. Like it was a buzz, and this was kind of like at the height of like IndyCar's potential too. And then, you take IndyCar to the super speedway because of construction and all this stuff, and it's like, well, we're losing so much of the reason going to Nashville is special.
Which, why the hell did you not figure that out before you announced the race in the first place? I don't know, because the renovations to Nissan Stadium have been long in the books.
That's why I think it might be something else.
I would assume it's something else, but but convenient excuses and all.
But like you look at the season and our note in our From the Shop show sheet is perfect. How Thermal Club exemplifies all the problems with IndyCar, because IndyCar doesn't know what it wants to be, and it certainly did not know what they wanted this Thermal Club Million thing to be, because they branded it as this made-for-TV event, which is why they made ticket prices so high.
And it wasn't made for TV.
And it wasn't made for TV. It was essentially, the two heat races were nothing burgers. It was a 10-lap segment with a 10-minute break where nothing happened, apparently. It was just a 10-minute break. It's like, okay, everyone stop. And then everyone stopped, and they were like, what? Okay, what do we do now?
We disqualified one car because they didn't put enough fuel in it.
Don't get me started. And they they just wait. They got out of the cars and looked around at each other and put their finger up their ass, and then got back in the car for the rest of the race, which, believe it or not, wasn't exciting either. Like, what was the... I don't know how many times I have to ask what's the point. I'm going to stop because I know I sound like a broken record.
It's an identity crisis at the end of the day.
I had no idea. There was no pomp and circumstance to this event that they kept branding as their all-star race, their big exhibition.
To pure motorsports enthusiasts, they have the most important race on the schedule, right? On the racing calendar as a whole worldwide, the Indianapolis 500. You can make arguments about Le Mans. You can make arguments about the 500, Monaco, the Daytona 500. You can put the Indianapolis 500 is that marquee event, and it shows each and every year when it can be smack dab in the middle of the schedule, and it has this huge ratings boom. The fact that they have not been able to capitalize on that in any substantial way. Attendance is not good. I talked about this last year. The Detroit GP, that is in the heart of downtown Detroit, whatever, make your Detroit jokes here, insert them. It doesn't cost anything to go to that. You can go for free. That's not a winning business proposition. You know what I'm saying? You can twist it and say this is so we can get as many people to the racetrack, but really what it is, it's so we can make it look like we have a lot of people at the racetrack. it's so frustrating. It's so aggravating. It's all these things because it's a racing series at the end of the day that is the closest to pure racing that we have. Yet they don't want to capitalize on that. They want to be made for TV. They want to have a charter agreement. They want to do all these things that just that spit in the face of what people want them to be. And that's the frustrating part, especially when you have a racer like Roger Penske, or supposedly letting his business brain take over.
Yeah, and this is, we talked about this with IndyCar in the previous weeks this year, things like the charter agreement, other things that aren't necessarily bad ideas, but IndyCar's too small to implement them right now, and so a lot of fans end up asking for okay, well, can we take any measurable steps forward here? And that's apparently too much to ask for.
Yep.
Instead, let's do a meaningless race at Thermal Club where no one shows up, no one watches it. I'm terrified for the ratings to drop in that race.
200,000 people.
I bet. I hope I can find another. We talked about this earlier this season as well with that sheet that I found of all the motorsports in America ranked ratings wise. I hope we get that again at the end of this year, because the Thermal Club event is going to be horrific. It's going to be below most drag racing broadcasts probably.
And it's only going to hurt them going forward in the viewership too. Right? Yeah. What, the next race is Long Beach in a month or something? I don't know.
Yeah, a month.
I've got it pulled up. Long Beach is on April 21st.
A month?
A month from now.
Matt, your face when you said that said it all.
God.
For our audio listeners, it was very unimpressed.
Yeah. It's just, oh God. Every time we talk about IndyCar, it just baffles me, right? A prime example of how you're talking about has nobody knew what this was going to be. At the end of the race, they showed an updated point standings graphic after a non-championship event, which awarded 0 points to anybody. Very useful information, you guys.
We have to make it look like this mattered. That's pretty much what that was.
It's you held a non-points race in the middle of the SoCal desert at an exclusive club for only billionaires to live at, and then you're somehow surprised that nobody watched or went to after drivers were talking about how they thought the track was unsafe when they were testing there, and then Colton Herta, who finished second, said, and I quote, "I hope we don't come back here," in his podium interview. It's just a crash course on how to do everything wrong with your motorsports series. It reminds me so much of F1 in the late 2000s and early 2010s when Herman Tilke was just, let's design a new track in a country that we've never been to in the middle of nowhere that nobody shows up to, and then we'll race there twice and then never go back there again and waste everybody's money. That's what this reminded me of. The abandoned circuits in Korea and India and Malaysia now, except Malaysia was actually good. Turkey, the list goes on. So, just stupid. It's just a waste of money. Everybody lost.
Yep.
So.
But those are millionaires' problems, and we're not millionaires, so what do we know?
Yeah.